Welcome to the Embryo Adoption Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Mellinger. On this show, we explore the possibilities embryo adoption offers to families often struggling with infertility, though not always. Through insightful interviews and moving stories, we uncover the blessings of this unique path to parenthood. This podcast is brought to you by the National Embryo Donation Center, giving hope to those longing to grow their families. Now, let's get started. I've got a real treat for you today. It's the first time on the Embryo Adoption Podcast that we've ever explored embryo adoption from a grandparent's perspective. So that's coming up here in just a second. First, though, I just want to ask you if you would do something for me. If you enjoy this podcast, it's a blessing to you. Go ahead and please leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you happen to get your audio. That helps the algorithms find us, helps people who can benefit from this material find us. And of course, that's what we want. So yes, please give us a good rating, share, review, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. And I thank you. So now that we've got that out of the way, yes, grandparenting, embryo adoption from a grandparenting perspective. And my guest for this is Katherine Jackman. She is an NEDC grandmother, and she's also authored a new children's book about embryo adoption. We'll talk about that as we progress on the podcast. But Katherine, it's so good to have you here. So this, I'll start with sort of a big question, and then we can unpack it from that. But what was it like becoming a grandmother through embryo adoption? Had you ever heard of it before?
I actually was already a grandmother, but I know embryo adoptions, of course. But where I heard of it was back in 2005 when President Bush invited snowflake children to the White House. I remember seeing that in the paper and thinking, that's amazing. That's so cool. Never dreaming that our family would be blessed with a snowflake child.
Amen. Amen. So talk about how that came about. And we're going to use first names only because we've agreed to do that for this conversation. But your daughter and son-in-law, Eric and Brenda, don't mind us sharing their first names. So talk about how embryo adoption came into your life.
Well, I'm sure you've heard the story over and over of the frustration of infertility. And our daughter did have a child, a healthy little boy, and then they wanted at least another one, and it just didn't happen. So they went to a fertility clinic, and she ended up having 2 surgeries and medications. Nothing worked. And it's that emotional roller coaster of this time it will work, and then it doesn't work. And it's heartbreaking to watch your child go through that. So I remembered President Bush. That's actually how I remembered about embryo adoption, and I mentioned it to them. They were a little hesitant about it, but then they watched an NEDC video with Sarah and Eric,
Mhm.
uh, who adopted 2 little embryos, and they decided that they would go to NEDC, which they did.
And yeah, God bless their time, their journey
Yes,
here
that's right.
through the NEDC. What was that like watching you or watching them go through the process with the NEDC? This process that you had introduced to them as a possibility, and so obviously you're already invested, but you're doubly invested because this idea sort of came from you, and you're like, I
Yes.
think this organization would probably be the one you'd want to go with. Tell me, walk me through that.
Well, I saw the integrity of NEDC, and I watched a lot of your videos. I trusted you and I believed in what you all were doing. And it just gave us new hope that they would be able to have another child. And um it's a privilege to be part of this embryo adoption movement, I guess you could say.
And tell me how their journey resulted. Share that part of the story.
Well, they did an embryo transfer. They did 2 embryos. One of them did not make it, but one of them thrived and grew and is now our little grandson, Peter, who is absolute joy. They have gone back for another embryo transfer, and that one did not work. So, because of their ages, they're they're not going to do any more transfers. But they did get their little boy, and he's ours, and we love him, and he's just so fun. It's such an answer to prayer.
Amen. Amen. And they've got their family of four, and
Yes,
that's what God had for them.
yes. As my husband puts it, they have two wonderful boys.
That's how God meant it. That's how he
Yes,
designed it.
I think so.
Let me ask you this. I know you're not hesitant to share the story of how this happened, and so I'm before we get to the book, I'm just wondering, like, as a grandma, what misconceptions about embryo adoption do you encounter when you talk with people about this?
Um, the people that I've talked to are like people from church or my friends, or I talked to our family doctor about it, and people are actually pretty open. I haven't come upon a lot of misconceptions. The only one I would say is, can they take the child away? Is there some point at which they could come and claim that child? And of course they can't.
Mhm. That would be
The
a huge misconception, right?
Yes, that's a huge misconception, but a lot of people have not heard of embryo adoption, and I want more people to know about it.
And that, I'm sure, is a big reason that you wrote the book that
That's right.
we're going to talk about now.
Yes,
It's a good one. Harvest Time in Sunflower Valley. It's an embryo
yes,
adoption allegory. So you are
that's
the.
it.
Let's go to hold it up again for those who are watching the video
Okay,
version.
I don't know if I can get, here it is. Okay, this is it. It's a board book for little kids, but I'm sure elementary could enjoy it too. And it's also on Kindle on Amazon.
So it's illustrated by Kate Etternick,
Yes.
who did a terrific job with the
Oh, it's just
illustrations.
beautiful. I want to show you the back cover too. The sunflowers at night.
Yes.
And Kate grew up on a farm, and all of the farm implements and the planting practices and the machinery are very accurate because she knows what those things look like.
Yep. And it's a good Midwest family that you're
That's right.
from. I'm
Yes.
also from the Midwest, so we and a friend from a farming family. So yeah, that sort of stuff is important. It's important that you get it right if you're gonna write about it. So
Yes.
before we get to, why sunflowers, why an allegory, what made you want to write a book? That's always sort of an ambitious undertaking, or at least it
Yes.
seems like it, right?
hmm Well, it started for my little grandson specifically. My daughter said, I wish there was a book for little kids, like a board book that they could carry around. And she said, I wish someone would explain embryos and embryo transfer, that it's like planting a seed. And I said, I can do that. So I basically wrote the book for him. And then I thought other embryo adopted kids could use this book. Other families could use this to help explain to their children. And I want to uh, get more awareness of embryo adoption. And then, I've written the book. We self-published the book. It's on Amazon. And one of the reviewers of the book said that she is a donor, and this helped her explain embryo donation to her kids. So there are quite a few groups that I think could benefit from the book.
How did it come together? The sunflower allegory and having Kate design the pictures, because that you need all of that to
Yes.
make it work.
Well, sunflowers are very flashy, and the seeds are big, and they're right there in the flower head. So I thought sunflowers would be good. Beans are good because there's an actual little plant that you can see, but sunflowers, they have embryonic cells. but they're easy to visualize. And could grow sunflowers if they wanted to. So Kate is actually Eric's sister. So she is the aunt of the same little embryo adopted child. And she and I dedicated the book to him. We said, for Peter, our favorite sunflower. So that's how that came about. And so I knew Kate was a very good artist. She is a professional artist, but I was blown away by her illustrations. She did a phenomenal job with lots of love.
You really did, and I wondered, I was going to let you tell that part of the story if you wanted to. I was not
Yes,
sure if you were going to
yes,
include that there was a family connection
that's
with
right.
Kate as well. How long did it take to do something like this?
It took about 2 months of thinking about it. I didn't write anything down. I just thought about it. How would I tell the story? And then after 2 months, I picked up a notebook and a pen, and in one Saturday afternoon, I wrote the book, longhand. And then I asked Kate if she would do the illustrations, and she was very happy to do that. She spent many months working on the illustrations. She put a lot of work into it, and you can see the end product.
Yeah, it's really good. And this is one good thing I think about the age in which we live. You don't have to go find a publisher. If you have a
Yes.
work that you want to get out there, you have something that you feel God has put on your heart, you can do it. I mean, give people a little bit of insight into self-publishing, how this happens.
Well, first we published it as Kindle, and Brenda is actually a graphic designer. She helped me with that. So we published it on Kindle, and that is easy. That's a simple thing. They do a number, it doesn't have an IBSN number, but it
Mhm.
has a number that Amazon supplies. So they handle the sale of it. It's all online. And then they pay you like, I can't remember. I think it's like maybe once a quarter, however many copies have sold. So that's easy. I don't have to do anything. Publishing the physical version of the book is a lot harder. I was outside of my wheelhouse. I had to get an IBSN number from a company called Bowker. They're very easy to work with. And I had to get the book copyrighted with the Library of Congress, which I did. And I actually hired someone from Copyrights Now as a consultant to walk me through that because I had filled out the application and made some mistakes.
Mm.
So that person helped me correct it. And then my certificate came in the mail with the copyright. It was so exciting. And then we self-published. So we used a company called Ninja Print. They did a very nice job. And Brenda set that up for me because she knew them from her work that she does. So the physical copy of the book actually took quite a bit of work, more than the Kindle book.
And that's what I wanted people to see. Yes, it's an age where you can self-publish, but even that, you hear the steps that
Yes.
that Catherine went through. It's quite a process. So there was a lot of love, a lot of time, a lot of thought baked into this book. And it's not like you're hoping to make money off of it. I mean, there's a,
Right.
there's a good chance you may spend more money making it than you
Yes.
ever get in return, right?
Yes, that's true.
And the great thing about self-publishing too is it's not like you don't have to spend a ton of money because my understanding is like Amazon basically produces the book as it's ordered. Like it's not like
They
you like
can.
it. There aren't like 100 copies already sitting there ready to be sold. It's like as it's ordered, we'll print
Well,
it and we'll ship it.
they
Okay.
can, but we chose to not do that. We
Okay.
actually ordered the copies of the book. So we bought them, I own them, and as they're ordered, I mail them. So I sort of created a little part-time job for myself, which is fine. I have the time to do it.
What's the reaction? But you shared a little bit of reaction with me earlier. Tell me how others have reacted to it.
Oh, people love it. In fact, I have a couple of artist friends that say, "Oh, I love it. I bought it and I love it." So that's reassuring to me.
I love it too, and you've graciously offered to gift some to the NEDC,
Yes.
so we're so thankful for that.
I did order some paperbacks, and that's those I'm going to give to NEDC for clients.
Yeah, the paperbacks. I mean, and it doesn't matter. You can get either the board book or the paperbacks if you go to Amazon, right?
Actually, I do need to put the paperbacks on Amazon. I haven't done that yet, but I will. I will be putting them up.
Okay, great, man. So let me ask you, if you had to bottom line it, how are you hoping this book is going to help embryo adoption or embryo donation families?
I hope it will be comforting to them. I hope it will make them feel a happy feeling about the whole thing, that they won't feel awkward or uh, abnormal or anything. They'll see this is a beautiful process. It's sharing. And I just so admire those donor families who donate embryos. It's incredibly unselfish and generous of them. And of course, I'm all about raising awareness of embryo adoption. I don't want any families, any couples to not have a family that could have a family through embryo adoption.
And this option is out there, and there are still people who don't know about it, though that
Yes,
awareness is growing. But thank you
yes.
so much for doing your part. I think this book is gonna help in that. And so let me ask you, how do and you can share as much insight, give me as much or as little of a window into this as you want. But how does your family talk with Peter about his origins? I'm always interested to hear that when I talk with embryo
Well,
adoption
we
families.
don't really talk with him about his origins, or his cousins or aunts or uncles don't talk to him. And I think his parents just say he's adopted
Hmm.
and he's little. He's only 2 years old, so he doesn't really have much understanding.
What did he think of this book?
He likes it. I think he just likes the pictures. He won't sit still and let us read it to him yet, but he can carry it around and look at it. Auntie Kate did the pictures.
He's all boy, it sounds like.
Yeah, he is. He's quite a little funny fellow.
I'm sure it's wild
Yeah.
when he and his brother are around. That's great.
Yes.
Was there anything that surprised you about the embryo adoption journey as you watched your daughter and her family go through it?
I guess what surprised me is it worked right away. And I know that that isn't true for everybody. And of the three embryos that were transferred, only Peter is with us, and which is a loss, and I guess it kind of surprises me how much that loss hurts. It really is, these are adopted embryos, but once they're adopted, they're part of your family. And the ones that are lost, those are lost family members. So that much emotion about it kind of surprised me.
And you can't just gloss over that.
Yes,
That
that's
that
right.
must have been a really, I mean, you can't, and I've talked with families, many families, obviously, who've gone through the NEDC, the
Mhm.
recipient couples who go through and experience that. What would you say to somebody who's in your position as the parent of the couple going through the transfer, trying to be supportive? You have any advice or guidance?
Well, just pray. I think prayer is a huge thing. Praying for them, praying for the embryos, and just be there to be supportive. grieve with those who grieve, rejoice with those who rejoice, and take it seriously. These are adopted by your daughter or son, and they have great value to your family.
And is that you, would that be, Catherine, your advice throughout the entire journey is like, I would think if I was the grandparent or the parent of adult children going through this, it'd be one of those topics, one of those areas where I'd really want to tread lightly. My tendency
Yes.
would be to almost walk on eggshells. Do you
Yeah.
have any
Yeah,
insight
you
in?
have to be careful. You know, the person that most is important with my daughter in making this decision is her husband, not me. And so just lightly mention it and then pray and let the Lord move in their hearts how he will.
Spoken like a true grandmother and a good
Yeah,
grandmother. Let's sum it up on the book before we go. I mean, how does it feel now to have this out there, to like be a published author and to have this book out there? Like it's sort of a tangible legacy
hmm
that you'll leave behind. What
that's
put into
right.
words what you feel
I'm
about that?
just, I'm astonished. I mean, I just did one step at a time, and it all came together in this beautiful little book. So, guess what everyone's getting for Christmas?
You know this will become a family heirloom. Like this is going to be around
I think
generations
so.
after you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Nothing's nothing this side of heaven, right? Nothing under the sun is permanent, and we as
yeah,
Christians know that. But
yes,
there is lasting value in this, right?
yes.
And this is probably as cl like leaving a book behind. That's probably about as close as you get under the sun, right?
I think so. I would say there's an analogy. My father gave me my great grandmother's New Testament, and her grandfather had written to Louise from her grandfather January 1st, way back, and then he had written Philippians 4:8 underneath it. And I do feel like he's speaking to me too. That's an inheritance from my, I guess he would be great, great, great grandfather. So maybe this little book will speak to my progeny over the generations about something important and valuable.
That's my hope and prayer. It's a wonderful vision, and I have a feeling it will. Katherine Jackman, want to thank you so much, not only for the book and for joining me on the podcast, but for your wholehearted support of the NEDC and our mission in every way. You have been with us for several years now, a steadfast, firm supporter, and always a joy to speak with. This is the first time we've spoken face to
Yeah,
face, but we've emailed and
that's
written
right.
letters in the past.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your gift to your family and to some degree other families with this book.
Well, you're welcome, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for listening to the Embryo Adoption Podcast. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this life-changing option for building a family. Hey, if you or someone you know could benefit from embryo adoption or donation, visit embryodonation.org to get started or just to find out more. Again, that's embryodonation.org. And don't forget to spread the word, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast app. Join me next time as we continue sharing inspirational stories of the embryo adoption journey. And until then, take care.